We have today the opportunity to learn from one of the very, very best in the game of business and real estate. And there we go. I'm going to turn off one of the videos here and silence put some people on mute. There we are. All right. We have the opportunity to get to know, and if you're brand new to the group, this is a person that you want to know. He is someone that understands the game. He understands how important education is, how to apply it in your life. He is an entrepreneur. He is a businessman. He is a friend. He is an educator, not by profession, but by his very nature. And we're so glad to have him with us today. Christian, how are you, sir?
I am so good, Ron. How are you?
Fantastic. Glad you're here.
Well, I am glad to be here and grateful for you coming in here and starting off these calls and just being so consistent the way that you are. It shows a lot. It shows a lot about your head being in the game and shows a lot about your commitment to this team. So we are grateful to have you, leading and running these calls. So thank you so much, Ron. And folks, let's jump right into it. I want to talk about the mental game of this business because it is absolutely so important. And we could speak for hours and hours on different topics about your mental state, right? And I'm not going to go into a bunch of processes today. Instead, I'm going to go over what I believe is the foundation to getting your head in the game. And before I do that, let me do this real quick. Before I do that, I kind of want to talk about how people fall out of this game. Because that's all it is. That's all life is, right? Actually, my whole book that I'm writing is all about how life is a game and the different ways to play it and the rules to play by. And so this business really is it's a game. If you're not having fun with it, then you're probably not winning, right? You're probably not seeing a lot of success if you're not having fun with it. And so sometimes it's about just simply getting your head in the game. So let me, again, stop some videos for some people and then share my screen. Use the whiteboard today. Move these controls out of the way. All right. So to talk about what pulls people out of the game, that's going to be helpful in talking about what can keep you in the game. So some of you may have seen this before. Bob Snyder's definitely gone over it. He's the one that I think thought this up and kind of came across it. And he's taught it many times. I've seen it many times at least. And I think it's important to go over for people. Where you're at in your business right now very much determines where you're moving going forward. So let's use some blue. Where we want you to be is in business building mode. If you are in business building mode, you're gonna have things to do. You're gonna have people to follow up with. You're gonna have conversations to have. And quite frankly, if you're building the business, usually you have something positive to talk about. The reason that many people don't feel like they have a story is because they're not in business building mode, right? They actually use the idea of not having a story as an excuse of why they're not going to build their business. Well, I would call more people, but you know what? Those people aren't going to believe in me, and they're going to have questions about what I've done. So I'm going to wait until I've done something before I do anything. And you guys can imagine that cycle. If you're going to wait till you've done something until you do anything, then you're not doing anything, and then you haven't done something, and therefore you still have the same excuse that you can't do anything until you've done something. And if you're not doing anything, you're not going to have done anything. So my whole point is that if you're taking action, you have stuff that you've done. And at Bob Snyder's Mastermind on Tuesday, he kind of highlighted this, where people had this question about, well, what if I've been in for X amount of time and, and people ask me what I've done. And the best response that you can have is to share with them what you've done. You see, we make up in our own mind what people are asking, and we change their words. So when somebody says, "What have you done?" in our own mind, we think that means, what have you accomplished? What have you achieved, right? And then in our own minds, we think that achievement has to be a monetary achievement or a real estate achievement or, whatever it is. And here's the truth. People just want to hear that you've got forward progress, right? People are really, when they're asking, what have you done? They're just curious about what you've done. Like, what kind of value are you getting? And if you're not in business building mode, you're going to make up this story that you haven't gained any value, that you haven't achieved anything. And as soon as you start listening and watching your classes, you've achieved something. As soon as you start making phone calls and calling leads, you've achieved something. As soon as you start putting out ads, you've achieved something, right? So by staying in business building mode, you're actually going to put yourself in a place where you can talk about what you're doing. And if you're willing to celebrate the path that you're on and the journey that you're taking, it's going to be attractive to other people. It's going to be attractive to those who may be interested in building this business, and it's going to be attractive to those people that you're wanting to talk to about buying their home. Who wants to have their home, who wants to, have somebody solve their problem that isn't an expert, that isn't learning new things, that isn't, focused on educating themselves in real estate? Your confidence comes from your gain of knowledge. Your confidence comes from your positive action, okay? So, business building mode, it's the most powerful place to be. Regardless of what kind of monetary results or real estate results that you've gotten, if you're in business building mode, you're in the right spot, okay? So everybody that's on this line, if you find yourself that you're in business building mode, good news. That's where you want to be. That's the only place to be that is moving you upwards, that is moving you forwards. Because unfortunately, there's this next spot that people get stuck in. Oops. Just erase that. Management mode. Now, management mode is a scary place because it feels like business building mode. It feels like you're taking action. Mentally, you may believe that you're doing the things that you need to do. However, if you're doing more management than you are business building, you're in what's called management mode. And management mode is a very slippery slope. So, in management mode, oh, we got somebody off mute. Hold on just a sec. Oh, they went back on mute. Very good. All right, so management mode is this space where you're spending more time learning. You're spending more time, organizing. You're spending more time creating systems. You're spending more time worrying about what other people are doing. And some people think, well, management mode, you only hit that when you're in leadership. You only hit that when you've got a team. And the truth is, I see more people in management mode when they're first starting because they have less things that will produce positive action in their life, or in their business, I mean, because they don't yet have the compounding effect of a team. And so, in fact, they spend their time creating systems and organizing their spreadsheets and deciding what to do and considering the possibilities and getting on training calls and more training calls and listening to previous training calls and going through the learning process, but they're not taking action. They're not building their business. And if you're not building your business, that's when you're going to have a lack of results. And in fact, you're going to have a lack of things to talk about when people ask you, what have you been doing? Right? And so when you move into management mode, if you ever find yourself doing more management than business building, you know that you're moving in the wrong direction. Because what happens is if somebody stays in management mode for any length of time that's too long, then pretty soon they move into justification. Justification. What this means is they start talking about why they don't have results and what they haven't done. And so it's not very attractive, right? It's not an attractive place to be because they're justifying and they're creating reasons why their success has not yet come. And that's the conversation. And isn't it interesting that those people, if somebody asks them, hey, how's that real estate thing going? They start talking about what they haven't done. Instead of talking about what they have done, which is the most attractive place to be, right? It is what is going to inspire other people to want to follow the same path. Instead, they start talking about what they haven't done. But they don't just talk about what they haven't done. They start coming up with the reasons, right? And they start talking about how, well, it's really hard when my spouse doesn't support me. And it's, you have to understand that I've got, these kids and I've got to get them to, to this and to that. And, well, you don't realize, I didn't think about the fact of how much time my job was going to take up. And, I'm going to do this, but, here's the reasons why I haven't done this. And, and these are the people when I call them and I say, how is the classes going? Then they start coming up with all the reasons why they haven't even been watching their classes. And here's the thing. If you stay in justification mode too long, then you start becoming bitter with the business, right? And all of a sudden, you move into blame mode. Blame mode. Now, blame mode, this is an interesting place to be. Because in justification, at least, usually there's a little bit of personal responsibility, right? You're talking about things in the ways that you haven't done something, right? And in justification mode, it's a lot easier to at least move back into management mode and start taking some action, and then business building mode, which is the most powerful place to be. In fact, from justification, it's fairly easy to jump right back into business building mode. But when you fall down to this next place called blame mode, all of a sudden your ego kicks in and you don't want to accept the fact that it's your responsibility, and you don't want to place the responsibility inside of yourself. So you start finding reasons outside of yourself. And this is where you start saying, you know what? When I first got started in this business, I didn't realize that there was a business builder fee. And if I'm going to have to pay that business builder fee, that is just the burden that is going to break the camel's back. And you know what? That is the reason that I'm not showing up. These are the people that say, you know what? If I just had a different affiliate, if I would have been enrolled with somebody else, I mean, I talked to somebody else, 5 months prior, and I wish I would have just enrolled with them because, they would have helped me build this business. These are the people that say, you know what, it's the system that you've got here. There's no way that I can put people in front of, this information in the format that you guys are running it. It should be ran a different way. These are the people that blame the leadership or their, affiliates above them or the people around them. You know what? Oh, I would have a lot more success if I didn't always get caught up in this conversation with this negative person over here. Right? Blame mode. You're putting the blame outside of yourself. And inevitably, if you stay in blame mode too long, then you're going to move to what we call exit. Exit. You see, blame mode, the only positive thing about blame mode is that you're actually showing up. You've got somebody to complain to, right? You're coming around enough to have these negative conversations, and these are the rotten apples of the group when they're in blame mode. These are the rotten apples because they infect the people around them. They talk all about how this person's done that and that person's done this, and this is why their belief in the business is waning, and that's the reason that they're considering doing something else or doing it some other way. And what that usually leads to is exit. And none of us want to be in that exit phase, because exit means you've left the business. You're no longer doing anything moving towards it. And these are the people that go out there and talk about how this didn't work, that this doesn't work. These are the ones that say, I tried that, and they still go into blame mode oftentimes because they don't want to take the personal responsibility that they didn't build their business. So if you find yourself in blame mode, just know that you're in a very precarious place, and you may, lose out on everything that you've invested. Now, good news is I've seen people go through these phases all the way to exit and then have a change of heart later on and come back in and build a successful business. So hope isn't lost completely. Hope is never lost completely. That's the reason that Bob Snyder has created lifetime access. That is the reason that he keeps the IMA affiliates fee so low, right? I mean, even bumping it up to $199, that is nothing compared to the business that we get to build, right? I mean, $199 a year to have a business that can produce millions of dollars over your lifetime, that can produce $1,000 to $10,000 commissions once you're qualified. That is a big, big deal. And so it just baffles me when somebody moves to exit mode and then they actually let their IMA agreement lapse. And it blows me away. I'm confused, right? I think if they had to spend $2,000 or $20,000 for that same agreement, that they would value it differently. but some people don't. And there's nothing that we can do specifically to force them, right? Because that's not our goal, is to force anybody to do anything. But the best thing that we can do is we can be the example. So if you ever find yourself in any of these modes, the best thing to do is to take action and move to business building mode. In fact, from any of these places, you can move over to business building mode, right? You can take large or even small actions to move you in a positive direction. And it's interesting that oftentimes it's difficult to think your way out of a negative thought pattern, negative thought process. But almost always you can act your way out of a negative thought pattern or a negative thought process. Here's what I found is when I start taking action in my business, then my thought pattern changes. My mood changes. I actually become more positive. I become more hopeful because guess what? Now I have something to talk about. Even if I'm just talking with myself. Yeah, I'm one of those crazy guys that has conversations in my own head, right? And even if it's just the inner talk starts talking about these people that I've talked to and the progress that I have and the hope that I can see for them. And when I place my thoughts on my desire to inspire other people to take action in their life, guess what? My entire mood changes. My entire emotions change. So I was having a talk with Joe Colby the other day, and we were talking about what is a simple thing, what is an actionable step that somebody could take to move themselves back up this slippery slope, to climb back up this staircase towards business building. And one thing he said was, what if, as soon as you notice that you were in one of these phases, in fact, as soon as you notice that you hit management mode, which management mode is simply that you're spending more time in management activities than you are in building your business. What if as soon as you realized that, you went out there and you made 3 phone calls? This is my challenge to you guys. It's not something overwhelming, right? It's not like it's too much. It's not like it's going to even take a tremendous amount of your time. So no matter where you're at, I mean, you could be in the middle of work, right? And you could you could be in your mind and you could say, oh my gosh, I just realized I'm in management mode. I need to do something about that. And you go to your boss. You say, hey boss, I need 15 minutes. And you go out to your car and you make 3 phone calls, 3 prospecting calls, right? You reach out to 3 people and invite them to the next event or to the next big event that you want to invite people to. You know, whatever it is that inspires you, make 3 phone calls. You guys could take 15 minutes to do that, right? In fact, for some of you, it might not even take 15 minutes. If the first 2 people don't answer, it might take you 5 minutes. But at least you have started new conversations. You've started positive action in your business. And this is a powerful place to be. And so here's the thing. Not even I am immune to those negative thought patterns or to those procrastination tendencies that we deal with. And I say we, because I don't think there's anybody that is immune to them, right? And yesterday was kind of one of those days. It's interesting how the universe kind of shows up and gives me these lessons, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Nowadays, because I have so much going on, even on my unproductive days, I get a lot done. Like yesterday, We set up a new entity that we are utilizing to invest into a business that's set to provide incredible returns. We lined up money where I'm going to be paying some people double-digit returns to lend their money to me, that I can put that money to work in multiple other ventures, including the one that I just that we set up the entity for. I had phone calls, I had training calls, there's all kinds of things that happened regardless, but I still, as far as the day was concerned, it felt very unproductive. And I found myself kind of in this space where I wasn't super inspired to take action. And it lasted, in through the night. I actually had a call with one of my team members, and he was in a funk. And so I was giving him advice to get out of a funk, even though I kind of felt like I was in a little bit of a funk myself. But I knew what it took, and I gave him the best advice that I could. And the end of the day, I'm still kind of feeling. And so what I did was I just decided, you know what, I have to do something. I can't go to bed in this mode because it doesn't feel good inside my mind. It's not the thoughts that I want to go to bed to. And so I decided that I was just going to start working on the outline of my book. And so I started working on it. And all of a sudden, as I'm working and I've got music in the background, and I hear a notification on my phone, and I go look at it, and it's actually TJ Ruizo out of Seattle, and he sent me a message that said, your prospect that was here is ready to get started. Call her ASAP. And it's so interesting how this happens, how oftentimes by simply taking that one bit of action, positive results show up in our life. Now, I'm not guaranteeing you guys it's always going to happen that way, right? And don't expect, I showed up and I did this and I did that and I didn't get any, epiphany. I didn't get any, major breakthrough. But what you'll find is over time, as you get better at this and better at mastering, your connection to the universe, because that's really what we're dealing with here. If you want to get metaphysical, so to speak, is, we're talking about the law of attraction. We're talking about the vibrational energy that you're creating based on the thought patterns that you have. And most of those thought patterns are unconscious, right? They're coming from your subconscious. And so you're sitting there focused on your conscious thoughts, but as you get more and more focused, you're going to learn that you can push them into your unconscious thoughts, and that's 90% of this whole game. And so when I moved back into that positive, attractive energy, results showed up. And so for you, it might not be 3 phone calls. It might be something else. I don't know what it is, right? But what is that one thing? I want you to just ask yourself. And even if it's in the moment, maybe you don't have that set one thing that's your go-to thing every time. It's going to be easier if you do. It's going to be easier if you know that you're going to take a specific positive action that you're going to be able to move into it more quickly. But maybe your action step is this. What is that one thing that I can do right now that's going to move me into business building mode? Because if I can get into business building mode, that is the most powerful place I can be. That is the most attractive place I can be, both to the universe with results and to the people, and even to myself, to the conversations that I'm having in my own mind. Business building mode is the place that results come from. So I'm curious, we have 3 minutes left. What's going to be your one thing that you're going to move into when you find yourself out of business building mode? Okay. Awesome. I got a private message of somebody that said that they're kind of in the three: management, justification, and blame, and they want out. So hopefully this is going to move them in the right direction. And Simone, it's not quite a PPM. It's just a business venture. And who else we got here? Any other? Okay, Hira, you're going to grab the first person you see and apply the 3-foot rule. I love it. How about for the rest of you? What is that one thing that you're going to do? That one thing. When you find yourself in management mode or anything lower, okay, you're going to reach out to your accountability partner. I like that, Bernadette. But remember, reaching out to them, you got to take action afterwards. Sal Rodriguez is going to make phone calls. Simone, she's going to follow up with the past prospects. Keely, she's in business building mode, and she's going to commit to making calls for 4 hours today. So she's already in business building mode, and she's going to take it next level. I love it. Tyler's going to look at why he started this business in the first place, and he's going to share with others what it's done in his life. And Paige, Denver Paige, is going to get in touch with team members. Be careful, because sometimes getting in touch with team members can be management mode. So make sure that you're also doing something to build your business. Going to get those drop cards out. It's going to call through the notice. I'm guessing that was notice of defaults. Going to hug those kids. Going to make short visual goals with large reward. Going to write out your why and 3-foot rule. All right, folks. Just remember, when you're coming up with all of these things, right? When you're coming up with all of these ideas, make sure that they are business building activities. In fact, the best thing you can do, the quickest way to move into business building mode is to move into pay time. We all know what pay time is? Pay time. I'm going to end with this. Switch colors here and thickness. Pay time. Pay time is on the phone or in front of people that can pay you, meaning you're having conversations with somebody that can pay you. So that's either on a prospecting call, you're talking to somebody and you're getting started with this process. This is a follow-up call where you're re-engaging people that have seen some exposure. This is actually scheduling a follow-up and sitting down with somebody one-on-one, or simply doing a one-on-one itself. This could be going to your neighbor's house and sharing with them velocity banking. There's all kinds of things. But pay time is on the phone with or in front of people who can pay you. So whether that's prospecting calls or an order entry party where you're entering their order, somewhere there or in between is pay time. So your team most likely already paid you, right? And if they haven't, then you can consider it pay time if you're working on upgrading them and getting their order in. So I appreciate all of you guys. It is a beautiful Thursday. Make the most of it.